for the first time, microplastics were found in the human brain. Okay, so we have found microplastics in the human body before, but not the brain. So we have found them in blood vessels. They've been detected in carotid artery plaques and samples of leg vein tissue. We have found them in the blood. We found them in saliva. Actually, one study found 21 different types of microplastics in the saliva. We've also found them in the lungs, the feces, in the placenta, the liver, the colon, right? The list goes on and on. So we have found these throughout the body, but now for the first time, they have found them in the brain, which is concerning to people. They were found in the olfactory bulb. That's the region of the brain located above the nose that's responsible for our sense of smell. So what these researchers are hypothesizing is that the plastics entered the brain through our nose just from inhaling them. So oftentimes we have talked about plastics being introduced to the body through our food and our water, but now we think we're actually inhaling them. As we know, microplastics can become airborne from different things like the wear and tear of plastics, like tires. Actually, tires just running on the road, like you're driving your car down the road. The wear and tear of the tire actually releases little microplastics and aerosolizes them. Another source are synthetic textiles, like synthetic clothing, that as it's continuing to degrade, it will release different microplastics and different microfibers on it. I should mention that microfibers have also been found in the body. So things like this, and also rugs, right? So you get rugs and carpets that are synthetic, and you walk on them, kids play on them and run their toys over them. Those are also aerosolized, and we are finding out that we are inhaling them, and at least in some people, they're ending up in the brain. Now, the way that they did this study, Joel, was they examined the brain of 15 deceased individuals. And these individuals ranged in age between 33 to 100. And they found in 8 of these 15 individuals, they had these microplastics in that olfactory bulb area of the brain. So one thing that I thought, go ahead.
First scene, I gotta ask you this. So did they look for them in other parts of the brain and couldn't find them?
Yeah, so they're saying that this is the part of the brain that they found them in. So that's why they're
So
thinking.
that's why you're thinking it's an inhalation thing, not a not an eating thing.
That's right. That's right. That's why they're thinking it's inhalation, and that there's a passageway connecting the nose into the brain that they think that it actually may actually travel through that travel through that passageway up into the brain. So they know that there's 2 pathways that they know of to get into the brain. One is crossing the blood-brain barrier. And we know that that has happened in animal studies. They've shown that to occur in animal studies, and they've shown that when it is able to cross the blood-brain barrier in animals, it is a neurotoxin. So it is damaging to the neurons. This is the second pathway that they're now theorizing, this olfactory pathway. And this is the pathway that sends the signals of odors to the brain. So they think that it can actually, maybe it's traveling along even just the small space that's required to have the nerve connect from the nose area to the brain, that maybe it's even traveling through that area. They're not really sure. This is what they're theorizing is happening at this point. All right.
See, again, I got to ask this. Just, I'm sorry, I'm just so curious about this. Did these 15 brains that they looked at, did they differentiate between living conditions, like the ones that live in the country, ones that live in the city? No, they didn't differentiate there.
No, but one thing that I was thinking of is that since the range in the age is 33 to 100,
yeah, that's a big range.
It's a big range. And also it tells you that, let's say that people, like someone in there who was 100, had the microplastics in the brain, that's hopeful to us because that person lived to 100.
Yeah, but they couldn't smell anything.
How bad is that? No. Well, you know, I mean, I think that's hopeful. Like we tend to look
Yeah.
at the negative of these things, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, microplastics in the brain. Like now we know it actually got there, right? But how damaging is it really? It comes back down to the individual physiology.
Mhm.
So to me, we're going to talk more about this, but that's one of my big takeaways that I want to say right up front is that this isn't all doom and gloom. Like clearly, I will walk you through this. Clearly, it does not seem that it's beneficial to have microplastics in the body. And if any of you who know me know that I'm really holding back on my words when I say that. So clearly, it's not beneficial to have them in the body, but it's not the end of the world. You know,
Mhm.
there's things you can do about it. The body is so resilient. And I want to go through and talk about some of those things as well that you can do about it. Okay. One thing I want to say is that in this study, they identified 16 different synthetic polymer particles. And, you know, plastics are just polymers, they're chains of
Right.
carbon. So
Mhm.
16 synthetic carbon particles and also fibers. So these are the fibers that I'm talking about. They're on your clothes, that are in the carpets. Okay. So they are getting into the brain. 75% of what they found was particle and 25% was fiber. So fiber just means it's a longer, think of it as a longer piece of plastic. Okay. So we know that small particles in the fiber is getting in.
Friends, want to dive deeper into our thought-provoking conversations? Become part of the Beyond Labels family today by joining below. For any gift amount, you'll get access to the full, uncut episodes.
Every contribution, whether big or small, keeps this podcast going.
So join us and expand your Beyond Labels experience. Thank you.